Beast of Buckingham Palace, Chapter 41, The Human Torpedo. Whoosh! Alfred was being propelled through the water so fast he thought he was going to end up in outer space. The water in the underground tunnel was black and he had no clue whether he was upside down or inside out. He fanned out his hands to try to slow himself down, but it was no use. Thud! His body was hurled against an underwater wall. Alfred grimaced at the pain, but no bones were broken. He pushed himself up and away from the wall and gulped a mouthful of much-needed air at the surface. He was alive, just. Right ahead of him, he saw a half-submerged sign that read Green Park. It was an ancient platform notice. If they had reached what was once Green Park Underground Station, they were now very near Buckingham Palace. An old vending machine bobbed in the water. Plop, 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 plop. Such a shame I don't have 50-cent piece to try to buy a chocolate bar, thought Alfred, who was starving. There was a faint glimmer of light dancing on the surface of the water. Not far off, he could just make out the outline of the HMS Sceptre. He could see that the vessel was at an angle, which was why it had become stuck in the tunnel. At once he began swimming towards the submarine. Then whoosh! Might shot out of the torpedo tube and smashed slap bang into him. Bash! Ah! He cried. Oh, that was cool, exclaimed Might. I am still alive. Thank you for asking, said Alfred sarcastically. Come on, said the girl as she powered through the water toward the submarine, leaving him flailing behind. Just as he was catching up, Alfred felt something bashing and scratching at his head. Bosh, bosh, bosh. He turned around to see a cloud of bats flying towards him. Squeak, 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 squeak. Ah, bats, he screamed. Yes, I should have mentioned them, said Mike. The place is crawling with them. Squeak, 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 squeak. Alfred dived so he could shake them off. After a few strokes, he'd reached Might back at the submarine. Look, this is the hatch here, she said. Now, did Enid say that the right lever or the left? And was it clockwise or anti-clockwise, asked Alfred. I wasn't listening. I thought you were. Well, that was the boring bit. Oh, for goodness sake. You take that one and I'll take this one. After that, they both yanked their levers to and fro for what seemed like an age. Eventually, the hatch opened. Clunk. Success. There were cheers from the ladies below deck. Hurrah! One by one, they began climbing out on the surface. The Queen, Enid, Agatha, Virginia, Beatrix, Daphne, Judith. Thank you, son. You saved us all, said the Queen. You took your time, remarked Enid. Now, can you all swim? Asked Alfred. Doggy paddle, yes, replied Agatha. I have my 25-metre badge. Then let's go, commanded the prince. Together, they swam towards the light at the end of the tunnel. The light grew dark, as if a thundercloud had passed over it. I should warn you, began Mike. We need to look out for... But before Mike could say bats, the swarm of creatures dive-bombed them. Squeak, 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 squeak. As much as the old ladies attempted to bat the bats away with their hands, still the creatures attacked without mercy. Ah, get off! Flying rat! Submerge, ordered the prince. One by one, their heads bobbed under the water. They swam as far as they could below the surface. As soon as one of them bobbed up for air, the bats would strike again. Squeak, 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 squeak. Eventually, they reached the underneath of Buckingham Palace. Where are the steps that lead up to the palace vault, Might? Asked Alfred. I'm trying to find them. Well, please try to find them a little bit faster, called Agatha. I'm not sure how much longer I can tread water. I never got my badge for that. Might's hand scoured the top of the underground tunnel until she finally found the bottom step. Here, she exclaimed. One by one, they hauled themselves onto the steps. Then they scrambled up until they reached the top. Above them was a large stone in the floor of the vault. Together the prince and Mike pushed it up and aside. Clunk. Alfred climbed up first and then helped the others into the palace vault. Little did they know who was waiting for them, looming in the shadows.